afternoon. I'm Josefina Bonilla, and you are watching the Roar webinar series with special guests. Welcome back, Daniel Guttierez. Daniel, thank you for joining us again.
I'm glad to be back.
Yay! So I was thinking about work-life balance, right? So many of us have to be working from home. We're spending some of us are spending more hours working from home than we were when we had to go into the office. And I think there's opportunities for us to think about how we can get out of the workspace and go into a place of meditation, mindfulness, and I thought that we can start the conversation there and then talk a little bit about how coaching can help all of us. So let's start there. What do you think, what practices can we incorporate in our day-to-day routines that can help us be a little bit more mindful, I guess?
Well, I think it's important. There's a couple of things that I've said to a couple of my executive friends that seem to be, I made a comment to a friend. I said, you know, if you're still as busy as you were before the pandemic, then you've learned absolutely nothing about this pandemic. Why do I say that? Because we've been given an opportunity to slow down a little bit, to slow down and breathe, right? And so mindfulness plays a part in this whole process, because if we're on Zoom calls 8 hours a day, and some people are 8 hours a day going from one meeting to the next, right. I think that we need to challenge the reason why. What happens during a period of time like this, and of course this is new for all of us, is that people become uncomfortable being uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable being with space in their calendar. They're uncomfortable with space in their day. Mindfulness and meditation come in handy when you need a break. Because really think about it. Where do we go for a break? The four walls of our house. We'll go to a vacation in one of the bedrooms, and then we go to eat dinner at a restaurant in our living room. You know, it's crazy. So it's really important that one of the easiest things that we can practice is breathing. Just breathing. And most people
Can you walk us through some breathing?
Because most people right now are holding their breath. Most people are holding their breath. They're watching this right now. They're holding their breath, and they're going, "Oh, yeah, I am." So just kind of close your eyes for a minute and sit up straight. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And every time we take a deep breath, I want you to lower your shoulders. So just take a deep breath right now. Hold it at the very top. And then exhale. Drop your shoulders. One more time. Inhale. Hold it at the top. Exhale. Now this time when you do it, I want you to hold it at the top, and when you exhale, really make a sound like you're really letting all that air out. So take a deep breath. Hold it at the top. Now why is that important? Because if you practice that, or when you're watching this and you practice that, your shoulders drop because we're tense, especially if we've been on a computer all day. That helps us get centered. A lot of times we act and make decisions in flight or fight. We're just moving. To take a deep breath like that, before you make a comment, before you engage, before you get into a fight with your significant other, take a deep breath. We're confined to small rooms nowadays. You know, most of us knew what working from home was like. Corporate America was kind of leaning that way, or corporate period. But no one likes it. That was kind of a novelty. I'm working from home. Everyone used to like that, right? But then when we're told we have to stay home, now our psychic starts to work on our head. Like, I don't want to be home. I ain't gonna do it. You know, we start to resist it, right? So it's very important that we think about, you know, if you live in a place that you can go out and take a walk, to do that several times a day. It will heighten your productivity level. You'll be able to produce more by doing that than thinking about plugging all day long on social media or whatever it is that we're doing or working. And I think that we also need to have a shut-off time. You know, what time do you turn off your computer? What time do you turn off your phone? Because now more than ever, we're addicted to electronics. We're absolutely addicted to electronics.
I'm actually going to ask you about this because there was a conversation you and I had some time ago. And it was after I sold color, I had all this time on my hands before I started working again. And it was really difficult for me. And you asked me at that point, you may be addicted to stress.
Yes.
And being busy. So does that play a role in what we're talking about here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It plays a part because this is why I was saying that most people have a hard time looking in the mirror. They keep their schedule busy so they don't have to deal with themselves. And so that's why I said that possibly you would be addicted to stress, because it's that stress that gives us that adrenaline. But you know what? Mindfulness and meditation gives you that same adrenaline, and it's not tearing your body down. I mean, one of the things that we can do to help fight this pandemic and this the COVID-19 is to stay healthy. If we're constantly stressed out, we are breaking down our immune system and more susceptible to catching something like, you know, the COVID-19. So the suggestion is just my book says how to find peace and tranquility in less than 60 seconds. So, you know, and I got a lot of flack for that because people are like, oh, Daniel, why are you telling people that all they have to do is do 60 seconds? Because that's all it really takes. And most people can't even sit at a red light without getting antsy. Right. So 60 seconds is the most. But if you give yourself 60 seconds to breathe like we just did, if you give yourself 60 seconds to just close your eyes and burn Palo Santo, which you know I love, or burn any kind of essential oil that you like, or light a vanilla candle, whatever it is that relaxes you, what it does is it begins to shift and change the neurons in your brain. So that anytime you smell that fragrance, you and I went through this also, is that once you smell that fragrance, it's instant. Oh, I'm supposed to breathe. That's right. I forgot I wasn't breathing. So all this is extremely important for two things. One, productivity. And I was talking about this way before the pandemic ever happened. In order to get the most productive employees or people in your workforce, then you got to give them the time to take a break. And I mean, not take a soda break, not take a brownie break. I'm talking about taking a break and going inward for just 60 seconds. And if you can hold that for 60 seconds, it's not only going to give you better mental health, it's also going to give you better physical health. And that's what we're talking about here. And the more we do it, the more we practice it. I mean, I remember when I first suggested it to you, you were resistant. You were like, oh, really? Come on, Daniel.
I was so upset with the whole topic.
Right. You're like, this has nothing to do with business. That's what you told me. I said it has everything to do with business. But think about the fact that you learned that, and it's something I know you still practice. I know that today and during this time when you're at home, that helps a lot from keeping you from letting your mind race and run forever, you know? And so those are the reasons why I think it's important. So 60 seconds, all you need is 60 seconds to take a deep breath before you act or react. And in between, folks, if you pick up your phone on the first ring, shame on you. I mean, it's not even ringing and you're picking it up, see if somebody's there. You know, let it ring. Let it ring.
Let it ring. Let it go. So you're saying breathing. You're saying if you can, take a walk outside, if you can.
Yes. Yeah.
And also saying, just be mindful of your surroundings, maybe be more aware of what's going on where you're at. Because if you're picking up the phone in the first ring, you're antsy, right?
Yes, you're stressed.
So those are some great tools that you can use. But how about if I need more than that? I mean, it took me coaching for 4 years before it did. And yeah, maybe I was a little hyper stressed. I get it.
A little? No.
But it took me a long time to implement some of the things, and I still practice them today. Many of the things that you and I worked on, I still practice. But coaching, how can that play a role in your current day-to-day life? Is there a place?
Why? Yes. Why? I think it's even more important today than it ever has been before, because we don't have perspective from our friends and family. Like, I mean, our family's there all the time, so that's not the place you want to go anyway. You want to go to a place or a person that is outside of your circle. Why? Because you need someone, and I remember many times telling you, I'm a whiteboard. You can throw anything up on the whiteboard and we'll talk about it. And that way you're not going home to your significant other, your children or whatever, and taking it out on them.
And I did throw a shoe or two at the.
You did. I remember you saying that. and so it's important to have that objective point of view, that objective person that's out there that can help you work through your problems. But the other thing that's important, Josefina, is that you have a coach that is working the game themselves. It's not someone who got a certificate online. I'm not saying it's bad, but got a certificate, but has no life experience. Right. You know, if you're an executive and you're wanting someone to coach you, you should be looking at someone that has as good or better skills than you do. Or if you're an entrepreneur and the person that you're looking to coach you is just theoretical in their process or philosophical in their process, that's not going to help you at all. What you want to do is look for somebody who's actually doing it. This is why I always tell people, I mean, I came to Peru. I'm in Peru right now. I'm in the Andes during a pandemic. And somehow I'm still floating because I'm using the things I teach people. You know, I've made a comment before, and you may or may not have heard me say this, Josefina. I always say, I asked the universe, how big can I dream? And the universe came back and said, so big that only I can help you. That's the attitude you want in your coach. Not just a coach that coaches because they're good at coaching. There's a difference. You want somebody who's been there. You want someone that knows what it's like to have to figure out. Remember, many times you and I had to figure out how we were going to make this or that work. And it takes somebody who's been through it, strategically understands the thought process between going from, I want to sell my business, to actually selling it and making sure that you're taken care of for the next 2 years.
Right.
That's a thought process. That's one of my strengths, is the strategy of how do we get from point A to point B. And as you know, I expect you to do the work. I'm not doing it. But
right.
I surely.
So let's break down what the process could be. If you're thinking about getting a coach, let me start with me, what the process was with me, and then maybe you can talk about what the process is when you get a new client. I know, so when I started, there were a couple of things that I remember, and I actually have gone back to them. One, you asked me to list what was important to me. What things were important to me, whether it was I wanted a legacy, whether I wanted personal, there were, work, personal, all these things.
Financial. Yeah.
Financial was a big piece. And then the other piece was, and I didn't really want to do it. It took me a long time.
Yeah, you procrastinated a lot.
I did. And I get it. I'm very conservative, or I'm very private in those type of thoughts. And sure. I didn't really want to share them with you. I didn't want to share them, period. But so I did that first. And then I went and you had me clean my space and do all these things, which was also important. So when you get a new client, and let me reiterate what you said, which was that you have the corporate experience, you've had a small business, you've had the corporate, and you have this practice that you have. And so that to me was interesting, because it was not somebody that really had the experience and that could relate to the things that I was going through. So that was important to me. So when you have a new client, let's pretend it's not me.
Okay.
But a new client, walk me through what you would walk them through.
I think the most important thing that's important for a coach, that's important for me, is that I can't help you go where you want to go if you don't know where you want to go. I mean, a lot of times people go to a coach to go, tell me where I want to go, but no, you got to know where you want to go. So the first question is obviously physical, personal, financial, relational. Where do you want to go in those areas? Where do you want to see yourself at the end of our working session? Where do you want to see yourself at the end of 5 years? And I'm not one that likes to think 5 years out. I was taught that in corporate. I mean, it's funny that they teach us to think 5 years out, but a business, a corporation or a business can barely handle every quarter. Like they think by quarters, right? And so I always said, look, think by quarters and let's adjust and move things as we see things evolving. So it's very important to me to know, where do you want to go? And then listing those things. And you know what? You brought something up that's very important. Not only did I have the business knowledge and the acumen, I also was close to your situation in that I was a parent. I was a parent. And these personal things are very important. And I remember you challenging me on that. What's this got to do with business, right? And I said, it's got everything to do with business. Because you need a coach that's well-rounded in all areas, not just, if a coach is all business and they focus on business, but their family life is horrible, bad coach. That coach should have everything across the board doing well. And that's what I was asking you. Where are you in these areas? And it was hard because how many people actually ask us that? Where do you want to be in all? Because I would say to you, you can have it all. And you would say, oh, come on, Daniel. I said, you can have it all. You can sell your business. You can have money. You can have a great relationship with your kids. You can have the house you want to live in. You can have the job you want to live in. And remember, we went through a lot of ups and downs. As a good coach, you should never say to someone, we're going to stick with this until you get it. Because that's not life. Life goes up and down. Things happen and you shift your goals. I would always say to you, I don't want to do that anymore. Great. That's just closer to getting to where you want to go. Let's go this direction. And then you might decide, I don't want to do that either. Great. Let's go back to this one. And that's the idea behind giving me helping. And I helped you along, right? It's a roadmap for us to start. I don't believe that whatever we put down on paper is always going to be 100% correct, but it is something for me to start on. It is, because remember, one of the things that I do is remind you of what you said, but that's not what you said. This is what you said, so that your internal dialogue is matching your external dialogue. And once that happens, manifesting anything is fast. And that's another thing, right? We did a vision board. I said, now that you have it written down, I want you to see further by seeing it done. The I am statements. I am a powerful executive person, or I am living in my dream home in Puerto Rico. Whatever it is, we had to start putting some teeth behind that. And you guys ever heard fake it till you make it? I remember when my football coach, fake it till you make it. I said, what does that mean? Nobody knew what it meant. They just said it, fake it till you make it. Well, what it means is you want to fake your subconscious mind into believing what's true on the outside until it becomes so. So I might say I make $1 million a year, but that may not be true right now. But the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference of what happens inside your brain and what happens on the outside. So if you keep saying that, eventually it'll match, and then it'll be true. When I started speaking many years ago, I remember starting at $50 an hour. I thought that was a lot. I actually used to call myself Meals on Wheels. If you feed me, I'll speak. Let's do it. But I ended up at $25,000 an hour, right? Why? Because I kept saying I'm a $25,000 an hour speaker. I remember getting that check and going, wow, life is great. But we have to catch up to that. And our self-esteem has to catch up to what our desires are. And once that happens, magic happens, as you experienced in your life.
Yes. Well, I think there's this moment, though, when you asked me to write what I wanted in the different aspects of my life, I actually had to really dig deep and ask myself those questions that I had that sometimes I would negate, or they would come up in conversation and I didn't acknowledge them. So there's this acknowledgement process of what it is you really want. But I don't think I could have done that by myself. I really don't think so. So at that point, it was perfect for me to have a coach because I had these things going on. And I think a lot of people, as they're contemplating their life right now, because it is different they're thinking about what their life could look like outside the jobs that they're currently in. Where could they be living outside? Because candidly, a lot of us are working remotely. I mean, I happen to be not in Boston right now, but I could easily be in Boston. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. As long as you're doing the job, right? But that creates an opportunity for you to go into that space where you can ask somebody for help in looking at what your life could look like. And that's where a person like you comes in. And I always find it interesting because, yes, you have to talk to a variety of coaches. But, you know, I think I stalked you for a hot minute, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Like everything I want, I stalk, right?
Yeah.
But so if I'm interested, if I am thinking I want to make changes, I don't know where to start. The best place is possibly maybe talk with you.
Yes. Well, I give a free consultation with people, a complimentary consultation, so that we can see if we're a fit, to see if it's something. I mean, we shouldn't all match up with everybody. You know, it's one of those things. Okay, yeah, I can work with you. I can, because if I can't see it as your coach, I'm not your coach. I have to be able to see it. It's kind of like when you were talking about, I want to sell color. I saw it. I even gave you a number that day. I said, yeah, I see it. Right. And so the whole, if they want to get a hold of me, they can just go to my website, danielguttierez.com, and schedule an appointment, a Zoom call with me. And I'm happy to sit down, and it doesn't cost anything. Maybe coaching is not good for you. Maybe you need a therapist. I don't know. Maybe a coach.
I mean, candidly, Danielle, there were points in our relationship where you were my therapist.
Yes, I remember. I'm like, okay, let's go through this. But part of the journey, and one of the things that I think I do different than most coaches, and you know this because you've been a client, is I'm open. Think about a coach. When do you need a coach? When life's happening, not every 2 months, twice a month on the hour on Wednesday at 2:00. Life happens in between. And I'm one of those coaches that allows you to call me or send me an email or schedule a call, because that's when we got to get in your head and find out why you're acting the way you're acting. That's what's stopping you from getting where you want to go. But if I wait until 2 weeks during our time for us to get to see each other, then you've forgotten already. It's kind of, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but when you're training a dog not to go to the bathroom on the inside, you got to catch him in the process. Because if you don't, he doesn't know why you're hitting him or why you're putting him outside. It's the same thing with us. We need to work through those problems together, so we can go, now this is what you're doing in this area. Then you're probably doing it in this area. Let's see how we can change that. So part of the process is you get a consultation with me. Doesn't cost you anything. I'm happy to coach you, even if we don't get in a contract together, because that's, if a coach can't show you what they can do in an hour, then you got the wrong coach. They should be able to pretty much not convince you, but show you how they can be a benefit to you in your life.
Right, and I think having somebody that can help you through the process, because there are many times when you're shifting gears, and this is what we're talking about here, is shifting gears, right? When through my process, I was shifting gears, and I found myself on the edge of that cliff, thinking I'm done. And through the coaching and through, taking those breaths, through looking at the I am statements, through doing all this work that we did together, I was able to get to the goals that I had set up. And I think that a lot of people are starting to look at where they're at. Their choices can be so much different than they have been, or what they've accepted as okay for themselves. And
and I think that's the beauty of the pandemic. It's, it's kind of like Mother Nature put us all in a timeout. Go to your room and think about it. And we have an opportunity to change the canvas of our life right now. What if we're in the wrong job? What if we're just doing it because I owe, so after work I go? And many people have told me I can't change because I got this. No, you can't. You just need to get outside of yourself and have someone help you see what opportunities are in front of you. You know, what I had someone give me a kind of a backhanded compliment the other day because something's kind of happening here in Peru, and I started hearing about it, and she goes, you're just amazed me because you got like 3 hustles starting before the problem even started. I said, because I'm thinking ahead. And that's what I want to teach my clients. Think ahead, don't react, act. There's a difference.
Yes.
Don't react, act. And let's see what the landscape looks like. What's possible for us right now? And that is that we have an opportunity to change the landscape. And we might be at home, by the way, for the next year and a half, 2 years until we get past this. We don't know. Nobody knows. But what I do know is that when we are put into a room like we are now, and we have to spend a lot of time there, we lose perspective. We lose perspective. And that's where a good coach comes in. And that's what I enjoy doing, is saying, well, listen, what about this? Remember, I used to challenge a lot of things. And sometimes, but folks, I'm not mind telling you, I'm not always right. My job is to challenge you. And I may not be right. And you could say, I don't know about that. Great. Then you're listening. If you just go, yeah, then I'm not serving you either, right? There's got to be a relationship there that allows for growth and allows for, most of the people that I coach are strong people. They're people with, they're entrepreneurs or executives, or they're wanting to grow somewhere. And so they're strong. Well, we want you to be strong. I don't want you to take everything I say for word. And so they can go to my website, book a consultation. And I told you yesterday, and this is something I've never done. And I'm going to tell you the why, because I don't want you to think, oh, this guy's giving up. I decided in August that people who wanted to coach with me, that I would give them a 75% discount on my rates.
Which is a lot of money. When you wrote that, I was thinking, what?
I know you're probably thinking, damn it, you slapped me around. I
was like, do I get that back?
I know, right? But here's the deal. I'm in a different place in my life. And the money that I raise today helps keep this beautiful retreat center going. The money that I raise this month will help keep the communities are still needing food. It helps me keep helping them. It's funny how life changes. And then all of a sudden, because I was in that corporate rat race myself, I was stuck in the middle of it, and they dangle the stock options and all that stuff, and you just keep going until you can't go anymore. And now that I'm in my world and relaxed and peaceful, my perspective on how I coach is different, and how I use money. It's not that it's not important to me. It's just that I'm looking at doing it differently. And the truth is, right now, we're all in a financial, so I don't care who you are. We're all financially in a position where we're having to reinvent ourselves, and we're having to find new ways to exist. And that's my way of saying, look, I'd love to coach you. Book an appointment, and if it's right, then I'll tell you that you'll probably be surprised at that amount. You know what it is probably, but it is very, it's doable. It's doable for anybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you can do it, this is the time to do it, especially when you're rethinking your life, rethinking what it could look like. In the midst of this pandemic, there's an opportunity to just be mindful and considerate and think about yourself. We are running out of time. This was a great conversation.
I loved it.
So DanielGuttierez.com.
Yes, they can book an appointment there. And don't forget, coming up in this next month is Hispanic Heritage Month. Again, Zoom is the way we're doing things. I'm available. And I know you're going to cringe when I say this, but I am open for small donation. I will come and I will do a speech on how to live your dreams in a pandemic. I'm doing it. I love
it. So, you can get a hold of Daniel, and I didn't cringe at all. That was cringe-worthy. So thank you so much. And let's hop back on as soon as we're done.
You bet.
Thank you for joining us.
You bet.